Welcome to WorksheetCloud Grade 9 English. I'm really looking forward to our lesson together today. We're going to be tackling some language. If during the lesson you feel that you require a little bit more explanation or something didn't quite make sense to you, please, as you see on the screen, grade9@worksheetcloud.com. Any queries or concerns will be seen to and you'll receive any necessary information. Okay, so today. So I wanted to start off with, let me first show you this picture. So here you guys will see a picture of what seems to me like a whole group of friends having lots of fun, taking that perfect picture opportunity. And I think that a lot of times we see pictures and we start to perceive that something is happening in that picture, and we almost base it or judge it according to our own lives. So you then think, why don't I have friends like that who we can all go out and take these perfect pictures together? It looks like they're so close. And we start holding ourselves to a standard that isn't actually real. And we start forgetting to appreciate what we do have in life. And I think social media is a very big instigator behind that. I'm sure you've all heard of FOMO, fear of missing out. But I think we need to remind ourselves that what we have in real life and the effort and connections we put into that, it's a lot more important than judging what's happening out there and thinking we're not good enough or we're not having the best time and living the best life we can. Okay, so just some motivation for today to really look inside yourself and what you have and try not to feel pressured by what the rest of society seems to have. Okay, so with that, today you are going to need pen and paper. I always say the same, if you prefer not to write down the answers for the activities, but rather to watch the videos, think it through, and then come up with an idea in your head, as opposed to writing it, that's perfectly fine. But if you prefer notes and having pen and paper accessible, then please just feel free to get that sorted now as well. Okay, so we'll be asking, what are we doing today? We are going to be looking at sentence types briefly, just as a recap, but mostly sentence structure. We're looking at simple, compound, and complex sentences. The sentence structure of simple, compound, and complex is very important in terms of your writing. When you write, you don't just want to stick to simple sentences. You don't just want to stick to compound sentences. You need to vary it so that the writing is enhanced, and you also need to understand the sentence type so that you also have an understanding of the grammar. Okay, so we'll start first with a recap of basic sentences. Now, you get a question sentence, which has a question mark, a statement sentence, which ends in a full stop, a command sentence, which ends in an exclamation mark usually, and then an exclamation sentence. A question sentence obviously asks a question, how are you today? A statement, I am fine. Command, tell me how you are doing. Very commanding. Exclamation, I'm so excited for this day. So it's just the various sentence types that you get. And this is probably the easy concept behind it. Now, if we look at sentence structure, this is when we're going a little bit more in detail. A simple sentence has one verb. It is one thought. Normally, it's quite a short sentence because it only has that one verb. So, Sean went shopping at Woolworths. All right, went shopping is our verb. They work together. So, the action of shopping. And there's no other thought in that sentence. Simply, Sean went shopping at Woolworths. One verb. If we now take it a little step further to compound sentence, a compound sentence has two verbs. Sean went shopping at Woolworths, so there's our normal sentence, went shopping, and Tara bought coffee at Vida E. So now we've got two verbs, went shopping and bought. We've got two concepts. A compound sentence is always going to have a coordinating conjunction. This is one of the fanboys conjunctions. What that means is that on either side of the coordinating conjunction, you will have two full sentences that theoretically could stand alone. So I could very easily say, Sean went shopping at Woolworths. Tara bought coffee at Vida E. So your compound sentence is always going to be joined by a coordinating conjunction where you will have two sentences on either side that make complete sense. Okay, now let's take it the step further. Complex sentence. Now, a complex sentence also has two verbs. However, this time we have a and a dependent or subordinate clause. So let's look. Sean went shopping at Woolworths, even though it was expensive. So you see, the second part is giving more information. These clauses are intertwined. They cannot stand on their own. So yes, it does have two verbs, just like a compound sentence does. But a compound sentence can have two sentences standing alone, no problem. Complex cannot have two standing alone. One needs the other one. So even though it is expensive, what's expensive? You need to know the backstory almost. All right, so simple, one verb, one thought. Compound, two verbs, but it's two full sentences joined by a coordinating conjunction. Complex, also two verbs, but it has a main clause and a dependent clause. All right, let me look further for you and we can go on. This is now going to be a short video which gives a little bit of just reiteration of what I, and then we'll follow it up with a couple of interactive activities. Okay, so this is also just about the sentence types.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the video guide for simple, compound and complex sentences. So our learning objective for this video is to be able to use a variety of sentence structures for impact. Now that means just three simple kinds of sentences, but the reason we've got to do this is because in the exam board mark schemes, there's a section that says can use a variety of sentence structures. So it's just to be able really to prove to the examiner that you can do that so that they can allocate those marks. So those three sentence types I mentioned are called simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex sentences. And for the exam, you don't even need to be able to remember the names of these three types of sentences. You just have to be able to show that you can use them, and you can use them for effect, which is what we're going to be coming on to at the end of the video. Now we're going to start with simple sentences. So nice and simple, they live up to their name completely. All simple sentences really need to do, and you can all do this, is contain one piece of information. So one piece of information just means that they have to make sense on their own. English teachers often refer to this as clauses, but again, you don't have to remember that word. You just have to remember that they contain one piece of information and make sense on their own. So this is an example of a simple sentence. She changed the light bulb. Full stop, capital letter, makes perfect sense on its own. Second example, she didn't like fixing things. Again, makes perfect sense on its own. Doesn't matter that it's more than one thing at the end there, just the fact that it makes sense on its own and it's one piece of information being given to you. So simple sentences really are very, very simple, and that's all there is to it. So everybody can do that. What we're going to look at now is how you make it a compound sentence. So little bit more challenging, but again, not too tricky. You just have to remember that with a compound sentence, what you're doing is getting two simple sentences and then joining them together with a conjunction. And when we say conjunction, we mean words like and, so, but, if, when. I'm sure there are plenty of other conjunctions that you can think of, but those are just a few examples for you. So let's take those two sentences that we had when we were looking at simple sentences. Now, if we're going to change this into a compound sentence, all we've done is added our conjunction in there. So we've added the word but, so that the sentence now reads, she changed the light bulb, but she didn't like fixing things. So it makes perfect sense. Two simple sentences joined together with the word but, or a conjunction, and you could put any conjunction in there. Now, moving on to complex sentences. Don't worry, they are not nearly as hard as they sound. The name makes it sound really tricky. Complex sentences begin with a conjunction, and they have two separate ideas, like a compound sentence, okay, but they're separated with a comma, and that's because you've put the conjunction at the beginning. So let's have a look at a little example of that. What I'm going to give you first is two simple sentences. So, she was a great English teacher, full stop. She couldn't change a light bulb safely, full stop. So those sentences at the moment look like they've got nothing to do with each other because they're just two separate simple sentences. What we're going to do is change them up so that they are joined together in a complex sentence, and you'll see what this looks like now. So, although she was a great English teacher, she couldn't change a light bulb safely. Now, can you see the difference there? We've linked those two sentences, haven't we? They make sense together. And if you look, first of all, we've put although at the beginning, so we've begun with our conjunction, and then we've put a comma in to separate the two clauses or two parts of that sentence, the two different bits of information. So now they make sense and have a really different effect than they did when they were two simple sentences. And that's all you really need to do for a complex sentence. It could be any conjunction at the beginning. We could have switched those parts around as well. So finally, let's talk about impact then, because it's no good knowing all of these brilliant kinds of sentences if you don't know how to use them to create an impact on your reader. And that's what the examiner is going to be looking for. Let's combine those skills then. So I've written a paragraph for you. Although she wasn't the most skilled at changing light bulbs, she needed to be able to see. As she turned the bulb, a bolt of electricity shocked her system. She'd left the power on. She was dazed and confused, but she was okay. She thought she should probably stick to teaching English. Now, I would like you to pause for this one and see if you can identify the different types of sentences that I've used in this paragraph. So see if you can find where the different types of sentences are. Okay, time's up. Did you manage to spot them? If we go through them one by one, so I started with a complex sentence, starting with a conjunction, although she wasn't the most skilled at changing light bulbs, comma, she needed to be able to see, and then a full stop at the end. That was followed by another complex sentence, As she turned the bulb, comma, a bolt of electricity shocked her system. So two separate pieces of information split with a comma, started with a conjunction. Then, pow, an impact sentence. She'd left the power on. That's a nice simple sentence with a big, hard-hitting impact. Okay, so simple sentences can be really effective too. Followed by a compound sentence. She was dazed and confused, but she was okay. Two separate bits of information joined with but, a conjunction. And then I've ended with a nice simple sentence, one piece of information ending with an exclamation mark. It can be exclamation mark, question mark, or full stop that ends a simple sentence. So what you need to do is think about the impact that these different sentence types have. So whether you need to link information, whether turning it into a complex sentence changes the meaning.
So as you saw with that
whether you just need something really simple and full of impact. Short sentences can be just as powerful sometimes.
You will have to. But it's more about knowing how to mix all of it so that your writing has a complex sentence, but then something powerful, a short, simple sentence, because that's the only way that your writing is going to create impact. Let's see if you can take that knowledge and now apply it. This is an interactive quiz. You can either write the answers or think about it. And here you're going to have to be deciding what sentence structure type you think. Helped you with being able to identify a simple sentence will always have that one verb, one thought process. A compound sentence will always have two sentences, two verbs joined by a coordinating conjunction. And finally, your complex sentence. Also two verbs, but one main sentence with a dependent clause that is attached to it. All right, so I think that activity gave you a nice example because even when it was identified as complex, it would show you where that dependent clause was that needed the rest to make sense. Okay, I hope that you guys enjoyed and learned from the lesson today. I thought I'd end by, okay, you can hear the bell, so we all know that I'm at school. But I thought I'd end with connecting to what I said to you at the beginning. So FOMO is this fear of missing out. this fear that we're not living our best life because on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or TikTok, so many platforms with all this pressure, everyone else seems to be living their best life. Don't have fear of missing out based on that, because it's very normal for all of us to put the best of what we do on Instagram. Never mind that we're probably comfy at home in our PJs watching TV, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is actually called joy of missing out. A lot of sort of more introverted people will maybe prefer that. I know for me, I love being around people, but I love being at home, comfy, and just doing my own thing. And so I've learned to have a bit more JOMO, joy of missing out. All right, guys, so have a lovely rest of day. Thanks so much for watching Grade 9s. This lesson was brought to you by WorksheetCloud. I am Mrs. Nortier saying goodbye. See you again soon.